Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome, Mr. Minister.
Thank you.
Sorry for this delay. In fact, the plane from Cairo was delayed by 6 hours, and the minister was insisted to be here. We had to delay it by half an hour, but thank you very much for making it just from the airport to the fund for this meeting. Mr. Minister, welcome. Let me first congratulate you.
Thank you.
For the first and second review of the program and for all the effort that you have been exerting over the last few months dealing with and juggling with many challenges. Since you came to the Ministry of Finance in 2019, you had to go through a successive set of shocks. COVID-19, the war in Ukraine, impact on the Egyptian economy, and so on. We will start with that. We will start with the latest experience of getting to where we are today, where the 2 reviews concluded successfully, with support that was augmented through the fund program, as well as also through some of the partners of Egypt. Walk us a bit through the kitchen of the reform implementation in the last few months, the challenges that you had to face, and the way you collectively dealt with those. I will ask you a couple of questions about the challenges going forward, but let's start a bit setting the stage on what has happened over the last few months. What were the main issues for you as Minister of Finance?
Thank you very much for the invitation, and sorry for being late. But let me say that for me, it's not the last 2 months. For me, it's the last 2 years. Because I believe with the first program, reform program with IMF, November 2016, which was a successful one, I believe Egypt was able to put itself in a very good position. But unfortunately, with COVID-19 in 2020, for 2 years, and we were assuming that after these 2 years, things will start to recover and will restore back what we have achieved from the first program. And thanks for the IMF, it supported us in 2020 in the second program to cope with the negative impact of COVID-19. But unfortunately, with this high inflation and the war in Europe and tightening monetary policy everywhere, which has had an impact on the outflow of the carry trade money, with many other shocks. It started with external shocks, but it combined with some impact internally. So the 2 years were very tough. But of course, since we got the program October 2022, and we were assuming that we will start recovery, but the shocks continued, and also the ability to address these external shocks with the internal situation made the situation more complicated. And this is the reason why the first and 2 review were delayed. And I believe that we did not stop talking with the IMF over the period. But of course, the issue of flexible exchange rate, the issue of liberalization of the foreign currency situation, and also the issue of the public investment, the inflation, things went to in a very tough situation. But the last 3 months, we were very close. I believe that from December, January, we were very close with IMF for the program. I remember when we were in Marrakesh in October, I was asked by many investors, I said, we are very close, but the issue, is we want to go, but we need the prerequisite which have to be there. Part of it was the liquidity. We need to have a liquidity in our hand in order to. But let me say that I thank the IMF team because they showed a very strong understanding for our situation, and I believe every stacking point we were able to overcome with some ideas. I believe we were creative on such a situation to create solutions to the ideas which helped us to be very close. I believe in January we were said, okay, this is a situation now, we need to move. But as I said, the issue of how can we move without having a liquidity. So we were working on the liquidity until the liquidity, we've got it. I believe at this time, I remember I was in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, and I told Cristalina, we have to say congratulations to her, we are ready to move. And she said to me, when? I said, 6th of March, Wednesday, 6th of March, we're ready. She said, okay, 6th of March, we're ready to move. And but the negotiation continued. And one day, the team were about to go to the airport. But because of the negotiations, they said, oh, we are not going to go today. Let us continue discussion. And they came Tuesday, and we moved Wednesday. So to get up the whole program on track, back on track, and to ensure that this time we will have all the possibilities to ensure a very successful continuation, which I believe we will have, because both sides, Egypt is insisting to make this extended fund facility this time very successful. I believe things started to move in the right direction. So behind the scene, the last 2-3 months, let me say before 6th of April, were in a very tough condition, not very tough condition for just the Egyptian team or for the government, for the Egyptian people, even more and more. And if you ask me what was the toughest, I would say going public and saying to the people, please be patient, please, because they started to lose trust, to lose confidence that we are preparing the solution. This is the point. And this is the most difficult point. I remember we moved with Ras Al Hikma deal was Friday. The Saturday before Friday, I was in public conference about the economic situation, and I was asked, what are you going to do? I said, we have the solution. It will be very soon. So they thought I was just saying words. And even at the night, most of the media program were attacking me because they said the Minister of Finance just repeating words to make people patient, nothing more. They don't have solutions, although we were working on the solution. So it was tough, but I think now we feel more confidence. And when I meet people, they say, oh, we believed, but please continue. Please continue until we restore full confidence.
Thank you very much. And let me start with please continue. My second question. Of course, the situation has improved, and a certain number of challenges were addressed, especially on the liquidity side, on the financing side. Yet the context regionally is becoming more challenging. And any reform journey takes time. What are the next priorities for you as Minister of Finance on the fiscal side, on the fiscal stabilization side? And then maybe I will touch on the issue of a broader issue, the issue of the overall investment environments and so on. But if I look forward with you, what are the next milestones on the fiscal side, and what are the priorities? And I'm sure that many people here today would like to hear you on that.
Number one, and for the most, I have to coordinate with the central bank governor to bring inflation within the central bank target. I believe this is the most important for me. Why? Because I believe the fiscal situation is not bad. we have a discipline. We have been, since 2018, making a primary surplus, no one single year. Even over COVID-19, we did primary balance. Even the debt to GDP, it went down from 103 to 80% or 81%. But so what I believe is now, number one, inflation has to come down within the central bank target, 7% plus or minus 2. Number two, to see interest rates coming down, because the most challenging point for me for managing the budget is the amount of interest payments I'm facing. Because without it, I should now have the budget deficit even around between 5 to 6 or even close to 5. Number three, I believe that I have to inject more for human development. I need to put more money for health, education, and supporting the economic sectors in order to be able to bring the growth back. Because now we are expecting to finish this financial year with a real growth rate of 2.8, which is not suitable for Egypt. Egypt population is growing at a high rate, which means that we need to be able to grow at 6 to 7%. This will not happen without all the economic situation is performing well, and we are going to target 4.2% for the coming financial year, helping the private sector to lead the economy. This will be the most important for us, is to ensure that the state will leave gradually, but at the same time, you have to ensure that the private sector will be able to take the leading role and to create the jobs and to make the economic growth. I believe these are the most important things, and I have to concentrate on that in the coming period.
Could you tell us a bit more on the last point you mentioned, how to grow the role of the private sector in the economy? And many have highlighted certain number of impediments to that. One is leveling the playing field. Two, that access to foreign currency, which has been resolved, and access to finance. And three, also the relative growing size of the public sector. What are the specific actions that you see now, especially that from a financial perspective, the situation has improved substantially, and also from an, I would say, a positive sentiment. Positive sentiment has become predominant despite the glooms that are currently shadowing the situation in the region. What are specifically what people should expect in the next 3 to 6 months on addressing some of the issues related to large public investment, public sector size, and so on?
As I said, one of the challenges is to restore trust and confidence of the private sector in the way forward. Number two is to ensure that with all the corrections we have made in monetary and fiscal policies, this will be lasting, this will continue, and will ensure that stability to macroeconomic will continue with our policy. Number three, we have to improve the investment climate and environment. And I believe we have taken many steps on that. Number one, removing all the preferential treatment for the state companies. And also, we have issued a law which has removed all the preferential treatment on taxes and customs for the state entities. And also the executive regulations has been issued. We have the state ownership policy, which I believe it puts the roadmap for how the footprint of the state will be gradually reduced. Number four, we have to continue with the IPO program, with the divestment of the state ownership in many sectors, which now I think more than 200 companies in the hand of the IFC to ensure that the program will continue. This will be critical also for not only for allowing the private sector role in the economy to increase, but for the budget, because we agreed that at least 50% of the proceeds will be used to reduce the state debt. So reducing the state debt with reducing inflation and reducing interest rate will help to release many spaces in the budget for the other objectives like health and education, and also addressing the level of poverty, particularly for those who were negatively impacted over the last 2-3 years. I believe also giving the main role for the private sector to lead the country is in the benefit of the state. Why? Because we have close to 1 million young people coming to the labor market or looking for jobs every year. Who will be able to create that? The government cannot create more than 100,000 new jobs. So an economy led by the private sector can create 900,000, even more jobs. But we have to give them the opportunity. Number 5 or 6, we have to reduce the amount of money allocated by the state budget and other entities for public investment. And let the private sector lead on public investment and give them the chance to lead on that. I think we have made a very good progress with the team when we agreed for the number 1, putting a ceiling on the total public investment of 1 trillion, 1,000 billion Egyptian pound for the whole entities, including military, including the budget, the public, the economic authorities, all of this. And we also created the tools to control that with the Prime Ministerial decree headed by the Central Auditing Organization will be heading this amount, and all have to report to this committee and will report half yearly about how much they have invested. I think this will control it so we can lead the space more for the private sector. I personally agree to buy the goods and services from the private sector rather than to go and invest it by myself and I have to pay twice. To pay for the investment, to get the goods and services, and also pay for the operation. No, I want to buy the goods and services and not to invest. Let the private sector invest, and like water sanitation. It's a very important project for Egypt. Let the private sector do it, and we buy the product from them. So we have many, many ideas and many activities and many procedures. We can do it in order to let the private sector role in the economy. I believe not less than 65-70% of the economy has to be by the private sector, and the state 30-35% is enough, and for the strategic sectors which the state wants to be. But otherwise, let the private sector lead the economy.
Thank you very much. I will open the floor for questions. Please get ready. Let me ask you a follow-up question on that. Things have improved, at least in the short term, on the short-term indicators. How do you feel the people reaction, both Wall Street and Main Street, both the financial community in Egypt and the people? How do you see the feedback, or what feedback you're getting from the population?
Because they thought we are on the brink of total failure.
Yes.
So once we succeeded in avoiding that, it was a relief for them. This is number 1. Number 2, with the continuation of the situation and the stability, it will take time. It will take time. I have to admit, we from the beginning we said we need at least 6 months a continuation of 6 months in order to, number one, show them that we are on the right track. This right track will last, and show them the flexible exchange rate will continue, show them that the private sector will lead, show them that we will contain our public investment, and also contain the inflation, because ordinary citizens have suffered hugely from the high inflation. So now they need to see the outcome. Yes, they have now the hope. Now they are happy to see some prices, let me say, at least stabilized. At least stabilized, no more increases. And some others, they show some sign of going down. So they have now the hope. They feel now, oh, we are back on track, so let us continue that. Not only that, we did part of the role of supporting vulnerable people. We increased pension, we increased salaries, we increased takaful and karama, which is cash transfer to the vulnerable people. We increased personal tax allowance by significant amount. And also, I have some meetings with business people, with the industry, with the Egyptian Chamber of Commerce, and I had meetings with them. They have hope. Yes, careful one is not, because they want to see this continuation for a long time. I think with IMF will have this regular review. It's also will be something which we will work together on a shorter period. So this also can ensure that we will be continuing together on track. So the hope and the optimism in the country is at a good level. I have been in Ramadan because in Ramadan you got a lot of invitation, not because of you, because you are Minister of Finance. So I got a lot of invitation on iftar and suhoor, and I found that you know, the case of you know, optimism and the case of that we will be moving in the right track. So we have to keep continuing this, and I believe the Governor of Central Bank also will continue. Of course, we had a tough discussion with IMF until we reached the whole program, which we will be sticking to it. Myself as a Minister of Finance, himself as a Governor of Central Bank, together with the IMF team. I have to thank them very strongly for the support they have given us, because it was tough. It wasn't easy at all.
Thank you very much for your word of thanks to the team. I think we also, Mr. Minister, very well appreciate that you are an honest partner with whom we can discuss, we can disagree, agree. And this is something that allowed you also to earn credibility of many stakeholders, including the markets.
Thank you.
Let me open the floor for questions. And please, we have a few minutes left. If you can be very short in asking the question. Yes, please. Short, please.
From اقتصاد الشرق with Bloomberg. My question to the minister here, is there a specific time frame that you have put for reaching the target of privatizing through IPOs or through selling the stakes directly?
Thank you.
It is going to be a continuing process. We will not stop. Why? Because the amount of companies on the program is huge. You cannot deal with them all in 3, 6, 9 months. It will continue. By the way, this is part of allowing the private sector to have more ownership in the economy. This is number one. Number two, this will help us to also use the proceeds to reduce the debt, budget debt, and also it will be part of increasing productivity and more efficiency in management. So we will continue, and we support this. I believe it was part of the solution because, for example, Ras Al Hikmah is a project which was a key to go and to continue. So we must continue that. I believe it can be 3, 4, 5 years program because, by the way, sometimes some of the citizens may worry about, oh, we are selling some of our companies. We've created more. We've created more because over the last years, we have invested and we built 25 new cities. They are values. Like Ras Al Hikmah is close to one of the cities which was built some years ago, few years ago, called New Alamein. So New Alamein created value for Ras Al Hikmah, by the way. So with the creation of all of this, I remember Ivana, when we were discussing, she said, okay, you have a lot of assets. We have a lot of, in the new capital, I own a lot of pieces of land, very good land. Why I can use it and put it for investment and use the money to reduce the debt? So we have to continue with these ideas. By the end, we need to create more jobs. By the end, we need growth. By the end, we need production. By the end, we need export. Let the private sector lead on that.
Excellent. Minister, I'm sure that during your stay here, you will have a lot of questions. Ras Al Hikmah will be in an issue.
I've got already some question from Ivan.
But I see here a few hands. I would take maybe 2 or 3 quick questions and then give the minister the time to answer them. But please, if you could have a very short question.
Thank you, Minister. My name is Simon Ateba with Today News Africa. I know your region right now is a complete mess because of the crisis between Israel and Palestine. I wanted to ask you if how that crisis is affecting Egypt, the Egyptian economy, and we have Hamas going to kill innocent people in Israel, Israel killing innocent people in Hamas, Iran also bombing. So it's a volatile situation in the Middle East now. How is that situation affecting the economy of Egypt? And also, are you accepting more Palestinian refugees? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me take another question, but also please, if you could ask the question. The minister is very good in answering.
Yeah, I'll be very brief. My name is Samah Salman. I'm from Sudan private sector. Similar to my brother here, you have a very devastating war to your south, and you've let in more than 500,000 Sudanese across your borders. This has created economic stress, we're sure. What are the plans to address the macroeconomic pressures created by this crisis? Thank you.
Okay, I don't see other hands. We have a very short time to answer 2 complex questions, but I give the floor to you.
No, it's not complex questions. No. Number 1, yes, we are negatively impacted. By the way, the IMF understood very well that what is happening, whether in Palestine, in Gaza, whether in Sudan, whether in Yemen, Red Sea, was part of the IMF understanding that with such a situation, we need to support Egypt more strongly. And this was initially one of the biggest elements that augmentation idea came, because we are negatively impacted on the Suez Canal revenue by more than 60%. So this is true. Also, tourism sector was negatively impacted. So the whole situation in the Middle East is challenging and is affecting Egypt negatively on some of the economic sector. As I mentioned, Suez Canal and tourism sector might be even the FDI. But let me say that Egypt, the issue of refugees we had refugees from.
We discussed it when we met with the president.
But for the Palestinians, they are going to be in their country, in Palestine. So they're going to stay in Gaza, in West Bank, in Palestine. So this issue is very clear from the beginning, from our political leadership, from the president. We are trying to help. We'll continue to help. We need to restore peace and stability in the Middle East. It is the benefit for all of us to have this region stable. But of course, we are facing the challenge. We are continue to support humanitarian aid is going from Egypt to Gaza. Our Sudanese brothers and sisters in Egypt, we know that one day they're going to go back to their country because one day Sudan will restore stability, and we hope it will be very soon. And this situation, but we are addressing that, and I thank the IMF for understanding such a challenge, and I think the IMF augmentation came to support Egypt on that. Yes, of course, the upfront, we decided because of Ras Al Hikmah, now we can smooth it, which was good, but I hope this will not continue for long because it will be a very tough if it continues. We are hope that very soon situation will improve and stability will come back to the whole of Middle East.
Thank you very much. Before closing, I would like also to echo the fact that we are all worried about the situation in Sudan. One of those severe crises that is affecting not only the Sudan, but also the whole region. We will have the opportunity tomorrow when we meet with the ministers and governors to discuss this and in the coming days. Mr. Minister, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate your presence here with us. I think everybody here wanted to hear you on this journey of effort, on the hard work you did with your colleagues to restore confidence. Confidence is in something that will still be the most important equity going forward, and earning this confidence will be through reforms, through transparency, the way you are talking to us today, very transparent, very open. And also, this is an effort that we as a fund, we are your partners, and also others are your partners in addressing some of the long-standing issues. And at the end, as you rightly said, what matters is the life of the Egyptian people, the numbers of jobs that we will create, and how we can make their future better. With that, thank you very much, Mr. Minister.
Thank you very much.